Hey folks, Dr. Mike here for the Making Progress channel. Today we are going to talk about how to deal with getting bullied. Now, I've had more than a few folks ask me to speak on this. This wasn't really ever on my list of things to speak about. Mostly like to talk about singularity stuff and self-improvement stuff. So my thoughts on this might not be as coherent as they are on most of the other subjects I've tried to talk about on this channel. But perhaps we can learn something together about all this. And if you guys want to get in the comments and especially link or cite some kind of bullying research and literature and your own experiences, that would be dope because I really do want to learn more about this kind of thing. Not my top thing to learn about, but it's always curious to get an interesting perspective. So maybe we can learn something together here. Just a quick disclaimer. I'm going to be sticking to male-on-male bullying because it's just my favorite porn search category. I'm kidding. I don't know as much about the dynamics of female-to-female bullying, and I have personal experience with male-on-male bullying, and so there's that, but also just for length component, because female-female bullying is different enough that it would require more expansive chat, and way outside of my area of expertise, so I'm just going to leave that one where it lies. So male-on-male only. You guys love this kind of stuff at this channel, I'm sure. So let's get a definition of bullying real quick. We're going to do two definitions. One is going to be the definition just plain-faced of what bullying is as a process, and the other one will be a more deep discussion about why bullying happens from the perspective of primate social dynamics, because humans are literally primates, and all that junk like bullying and jealousy and all that shit that sits in your head, those are primate emotions, somewhat but largely unmodified from primate times. And so we can really get a deep understanding of really deeply why bullying with that evolutionary psychological analysis. So formally, bullying is the repeated, intentional act, this is the formal definition, of causing harm, discomfort, or humiliation to another person, typically through physical, verbal, or psychological means. It involves an imbalance of power, where the bully uses their perceived strength or status to control or dominate the victim. My take on this is that it doesn't have to be repeated. One single case of bullying is still a case of bullying. And I will say that in males, the backstop of the implication of physical harm is a real thing. Like this is something that Jordan Peterson has said a few times in interviews with various reporters, and they almost always misconstrued and mischaracterized what he was saying. Maybe because they're, I don't know, politically disagreeing with him. Maybe because they're just trying to be kind of adversarial to get the interview to go better. But he'd basically say like, was any interaction between two males, there was a known, slightly subconscious possibility of physical exchange of violence to occur. And, you know, the reporters are typically like, well, that's crazy. Like, but that's true. And it's something you deeply feel, especially as a teen. Like your dad's like more jacked dad friend that comes in and he's like, what's up? How are you? You're kind of like, whoa, that's a lot of dude. That guy decided. Everyone can really feel that energy. With girls, it's different. It's more psychologically, arguably 20 times worse. But with dudes, there is that, like if someone with status, but that's a small and shrimpy and has no access to people to help him beat you up, tries to bully you, usually it just doesn't go well. Because you're like, the fuck out of my face, motherfucker. That's about ends right there. But if you can assess that someone else might have a decent chance, a very good chance of being able to beat you up, that's where kind of the big gelatinous blob of the effect, the underlying backstop, the promise of bullying really hits. And so talk to ChatGPT about this for a little bit and had it render an evolutionary psychological analysis of bullying, which is the correct analysis because evolutionary psychology is psychology unless you don't believe in evolution. And then, I don't know, you're like religious or whatever, which is super fun, but has nothing to do with biology. So the evolutionary function of bullying in male hierarchies, bullying often serves as a way to assert dominance and establish a higher social rank. This is super important. Dominance hierarchies among males have been observed in many primate species, where higher status often correlates with better access to resources, mates, and social influence, especially mates. And this is big facts, as the kids say. Now, bullying as a strategy in this realm is another conversation. Male teens may use bullying to intimidate others, thereby asserting their dominance. This behavior can be a way to signal strength and reduce competition by lowering the social status of peers, literally bringing other people, figuratively bringing other people down so that you can have an elevated social position is the purpose of bullying. By doing so, the bully increases his own status and potential attractiveness to peers and eventually to potential mates. Bullying is to use the threat of force to become more alpha in the dominance hierarchy. So the purpose of bullying, stated more plainly, is to uplift the bully in the social dominance hierarchy, to degrade the person being bullied in the social hierarchy, and these are usually not conscious. If you stop a 7th grader midway bullying someone, you're like, why were you bullying this kid? He's not going to almost ever be able to verbalize like, well, you see, it's just dominance hierarchy altercation and it's just typical mammalian behavior. He's not going to say that. He's just going to have a lot of feelings about like, well, this kid's a fucking pussy and he fucking looked at me weird. Like that's what you're going to get. It's this whole like, you know, when guys are interested in, humans are interested in a variety of our primal urges. There's not a logic behind that. Like, dude, we think about that girl and she's fine as hell and she could get it. Like, oh, okay. Do you have plans to start a family with her? You're like, what? No, I didn't even what? I'm trying to get that peach. You feel me? It's just a feeling. So when people bully, they're almost never calculating about it. They just feel compelled to bully that motherfucker right there. Not all people. So the next question is, who typically does bullying? Does the bullying, not is bullied. We'll take that up next. Who typically does the bullying? Males that are higher than average in the dominance hierarchy tend to bully more than males that are lower. Now, this is a thing that you get a real mixed perspective on in popular media. And some of the perspectives are, though carrying a grain of truth, are mostly wrong. You've heard the term hurt people before, right? People that have been beaten down and bullied themselves, they need to claw up the dominance hierarchy and they need to hurt others. They like, you know, people clawing over each other to get to the top of a pile. There is something to that, but the very even less politically correct sort of reality is that people on the upper half of the dominance hierarchy typically bully more than people on the lower half because they intuitively assess their dominance is higher. They think they can win more altercations or effectively use bullying. Also, they're trying to stay at the top and climb even further up. People at the lower end could be climbing around each other, and you definitely get bullying at the lower end of the hierarchy within the lower ends. But typically lower end are less likely to bully because they don't assess themselves as dominant enough to even exude that kind of energy. In addition, people on the average higher end of the dominance hierarchy, also males of low empathy, surprise, these are all genetic variables, high aggression, surprise. Imagine a very empathic male of low aggression bullying. It's just highly unlikely. Low empathy, same primate drive, plus high aggression and high impulsivity. Remember, bullying is always and everywhere an impulsive task. Almost no one plans bullying. Like, oh, so tomorrow, what to do? It's homework, Miss Janine's class, it's great math, I got to finish that tonight. I had to bully Frank, and then wrestling practice. Nobody does that. It's you see it, you feel it, and all of a sudden you got that bully energy and you're fucking doing it. If you're really not impulsive, you're going to feel that energy and be like, first of all, you feel less energy, the less impulse. And second of all, you're going to be like, yeah, I don't know, just having a lot of feelings. I'm just going to do my homework. Whereas if you're really impulsive and you act on impulse and you feel like bullying someone, which all teen males experience those feelings every now and again, some more than others, you're going to be doing some shit about it. So impulsivity is a big one. Now, one that's commonly trotted out and has a lot of validity is that you're more likely to be bullied if you were exposed to bullying or violence in the home/community in which you sort of came up, especially through your teen years. Now, what I'll say is there's almost, let me put this in the best way I can. A huge fraction of that effect is likely to be genetic because having lots of bullies around in your community is why the community sucks. So if your uncles were bullies, your dad was a bully, you may never seen that motherfucker in your life, but he's out there somewhere. Your brothers are bullies and all the other kids in the neighborhood have similar kind of genetic predisposition. Then all of a sudden it's like, well, everyone lives by the sword, dies by the sword. If the community has a shitty bullying exposure, not because it has a shitty, but it's not like a cycle of bullying or something. That is a small feature, but it's mostly like, well, it's just a lot of people who bully around and thus the community is going to fucking suck and have lots of bullying and violence and probably low degrees of wealth accumulation and education and all that stuff because kind of like warriors live there. Warriors bereft of all of the honor, just getting in each other's faces all the goddamn time. However, genetics aside, there's probably a permissive cultural role as well. If people bully, but you always know culturally it's not okay, you might choose not to bully, even if you have those impulses. But if people in your neighborhood bully, and also culturally it's seen as a cool thing or seen as normal, and you don't ever think twice about whether intimidation is okay because you see everyone around you do it all the time, that cultural aspect may make whatever bullying genetics you have just shine more, which is bad, shine through more because bullying's just a thing that happens. No big deal. It's like burping. And if you're raised culturally not to burp in public, you will do it much less than if someone who isn't raised that way burps. Same genetics for burping, just you get a lot more of that. Same kind of idea. Now, another aspect of bullying that makes people more likely to bully is when you have a male that's higher on the social hierarchy, so top half or something, but they still harbor some insecurity. Those are the people really likely to bully. So that hurt people still comes back. Now, on average, they're good. They're at the top end, but they have some insecurities, whether those were caused by earlier bullying when they were younger, maybe, or just came in stock with genetics or whatever other reason, or from other factors. Maybe you're bad at school and people don't even make fun of you, but you're shamed about it. You might perceive your status as lowering, but it's already pretty high. So you're like, fuck that. I got to bully the shit out of someone to keep this up. Again, not conscious, very subconscious. That's definitely a thing. Full security and an abundance mentality makes bullying kind of a bit pointless. Like the example here is like, that peak popular kid in high school that was just cool with everyone and cool with himself. He's friends with guys. He's friends with girls. He's friends with the goth kids. He's friends with the band geeks. He's friends with a football team. That guy's not going to bully anyone 9 times out of 10. He just has nothing to prove. He's already at the very top of the hierarchy and he has a generous abundance mentality. And so those are typically not the bullies. So I will say very, very, very important to say popular kids is not equated with bullies. Most popular kids don't bully. Most popular kids are really cool. That's probably why they're popular or good looking or whatever else falls in. The cooler you are, the more popular you get, all things being equal. However, some popular kids are absolutely fall into that category of people still dealing with some insecurity and they're going to have to put the fucking hammer down. So that absolutely does happen. Now, here's the thing. Huge caveat. Lots of different guys will bully people. So these average trends that I just noted for you, they're not a catch-all for the only kinds of kids that bully. People bully. You'd be surprised at who does bullying and ashamed at who does bullying. You would never suspect. I don't mean to make a joke out of this. This is real talk. Disabled people in wheelchairs bully each other in the right social circumstances. Bullying's fucked. Bullying is almost universal, but who does it more or less often can be statistically aggregated. Next, who is the typical target of bullying? This, to me, when I was making this talk and doing a bit of insight for it, was like a really, really interesting experience that I'm about to share with you. So individuals that present a lot of confidence in social interactions, carry their head high, look people in the eyes, talk with a normal tone of voice, talk to anyone they feel like talking to, and are a serious physical threat are unlikely to be bullied. Like if you took, Scott, watch this, ready? We take Jared Feather, IFBB pro, who's done like sanctioned amateur kickboxing fights when he was a teenager and still can fucking throw. You take him and put his exact body and mind and everything and face into a middle school. Who's going to bully Jared? Like,
yeah, right.
I don't like how he's talking to my girl. But like, okay, do something about it. Like, I don't know. It seemed like he would kill me instantly. And also he doesn't seem to be at all not confident. Bad start. So if you have tons of confidence and you seem physically threatening, you're larger, you're stronger, you're known for being more athletic or something like that, your probability of being bullied is very low. It's not zero, but it's very low. Next, more likely group to get bullied are individuals that have seemingly low confidence. You're shy, trouble with eye contact, so on and so forth. But they present a substantial physical threat, are more likely to be targets because they don't have the confidence, but are a bit of a risk for bullies because if they push back, they can hurt the bully and the bully can lose. And so a lot of times they're left alone. Like that weird goth kid that doesn't really talk to anyone. He hangs out with some of the goth people sometimes, but like, the popular bully kids like wants to fuck everyone up. He sees the goth kid that kind of like low key was like 6'2" and weighs 300 pounds in the 8th grade and doesn't look fat. He just kind of looks big. Like you could try to bully him. It's really impressive if you succeed. But if he just like decides he's had enough and listening to Slipknot for 3 hours a day before coming to school finally kicked in, and he like rips your arm off your body or some shit, or just picks you up and throws you into a locker, that's bad news. So whatever your psychosocial dynamics are of confidence or being able to look people in the eyes or not, if you're big and scary looking, the probability of getting bullied is gonna go down on an absolute level almost every time. All right. Here's the worst group that gets the most bullied. Individuals that present a lot of confidence. This is bittersweet. It's nothing sweet about it. This is bitter. Tragic. Individuals that present a lot of confidence in their social dynamics, but present a very low physical threat probability are probably the highest targets of bullying. Why? Because they present as high up in the hierarchy. Like this works with women as well as men. You talk to dudes or girls in a fucking way that you got some goddamn swag, like really you're feeling yourself. They're going to believe that you're important somehow. They're like, yeah, that was a guy. Yeah, he was like, yeah, that thing. If you do that, but you happen to be in an uncivilized place like middle school or high school, and you're tiny and shrimpy, but you got balls, you talk to bitches, you talk to football players like you know them, that kind of shit, but you're shrimpy, one of the guys in that circle that bullies people is going to be like, oh my God, this is fucking fool's gold. This is the greatest thing I've ever seen. You present as high up the hierarchy, so you definitely are ringing my alarm bells. But you're seemingly easy to beat up. So if I can successfully bully you, I can elevate my status a ton. Again, none of this is logically thought out, but the feelings hit. There was like these kids, these two brothers, I think they were twins in my middle school. And they had, Scott, remember the skater bowl haircuts, like the skater haircut where your hair just went down like this? Oh, yeah. Is it the equivalent of broccoli hair teens today, yeah, right? Exactly. These kids were skaters. They weren't big, imposing kids. They had little, like, just little adorable little kid faces, and they didn't look like men or anything. But because they had this beautiful hair, they were fucking in with all the bitches and shit like that, and they were popular. So many kids wanted to beat the shit out of these guys. Like, everyone wanted to bully them that could muster up the courage to bully anyone because they were that perfect mix of, like, they had balls and confidence and a peacock fucking haircut, but they were teeny tiny skinny things. And, like, that is candidate number one for bullying. 100%. So kids who don't hang their heads down, but stand out somehow in any way, but don't have the physical ability to back it up, huge bullying targets. People that have different hairstyles, unusual ones, outfits, people of a different race than a minority in that circumstance. Let me be very clear about this. If you're one of the only black kids in a school with tons of especially white trash white kids, you're going to get that ass beat. If you're one of the only white kids in a school of hood-ass black kids, you're going to get that ass beat. If you're one of the only anything in a school of a lot of other not-so-nice people, especially when they're younger, you're getting that ass beat just because you're different. It's not even like outright racism. It wouldn't matter. You could wear a different kind of hat and they'd still beat your ass. Never mind sexual orientations, LGBTQ folks getting that ass beat. And if you happen to be one of the only straight kids in a huge LGBTQ environment somehow, you can get that straight ass beat too. Again, it doesn't matter which way it goes. If you're the outlier, you got some balls, but you don't fit in somehow, and you don't seem to have a physical presence about you that scares bullies, they will come after you. Because it starts to look like you're peacocking. You're like, bro, I got all this fucking swag and I got balls and I got this cool haircut. Come at me. And they're like, all right, they want to test you. That's the thing. Now, the last group of people in the spectrum of who we can bully are individuals that are low in confidence and present a very low physical threat at the same time. Now, please understand that last group I talked about that had confidence but had very low physical threat, they get bullied probably the most. But right around the same amount, maybe just below, so this is not a minority group, are the kids that both have no confidence going for them and have no physical imposition going for them. Why? Because they're easy pickings. So they get all the bullies. Because here's the thing. The logic, very internal, very deep, very inferential and not explicit. The logic is, if I bully that sort of kind of popular kid that has that cool haircut, but he's a small little twerp, I might elevate my status, but he's already allied with a bunch of popular kids, and then like half the football team could come after me and beat me half to death. Fuck that. That kid is whatever. He's royalty already, like a little prince. You know, like if there's like think of like a Aladdin kind of situation where you have the castle and you have the fucking villagers living outside of it. If like an 8-year-old prince wanders out of the castle and some guy raises the fucking scimitar to try to be like, I'm going to kill this little kid, somebody's going to be like, bro, that's the prince. If you kill him, we're all going to fucking get toasted. Like, they're not going to ask questions. They're going to come through. So like that kid kind of just gets to walk around. He could be mean to people who's just pick fruits off of carts and eat them. You kind of just like, all right, so just don't fuck me up and please go away, because he's got a kind of buttress of forces behind them implicitly. And that's what confident kids who have a social circle absolutely have. Now, if you're a super confident kid and you come in first day of class, much higher chance of being bullied. But just off that sheer confidence, the bully might internally, again, very mammalian bullshit, very low part of the brain, calculate like, I don't know, this kid seems to get some confidence from somewhere. And even though he looks shrimpy, it like feels like he has allies somewhere. Because how could you be this confident without allies? This is insane. And so you get slightly lower chance in that direction. However, there's another big factor lowering the bullying probability of if you're at the bottom of the totem pole and you feel like it. So you're neither physically impressive, nor do you have any psychosocial dynamic confidence going. These folks can sometimes avoid being bullied because they're so clearly low in status that bullying them doesn't even have the highest appeal. Like imagine you're with a bunch of fucking bro friends and they're bullies and shit. And you're a piece of shit too. And you're fucking just walking around like a shopping mall, like making fun of people and stealing a thing or two here and running away from the security guard. And then like you get to this point and there's like a lady in a wheelchair and like you tip her over. Your friends are going to be like, dude, what the fuck? You're like, what? We're causing chaos. Like, pick her back up. Are you out of your fucking mind? Because it feels off, because there is no one below her in the teen male's mind in the dominance hierarchy. And here's the other thing. If people watch you interact with really low status people, they assume you're fighting for the same slot intuitively. And so if one of the weirdo goth kids who has nothing going for him, if you're trying to bully him, but there's other people around, you're kind of going to be like, fuck, I don't know. Like, this kid is so pathetic already. Remember, bullying, you assess someone somewhere on the hierarchy, let's say in the middle. You bully them, it demonstrates to them internally and to you and to others, you are above them. But if you bully someone at the very bottom of the hierarchy, okay, everyone already knew you were above them. So did they. Like a lot of times you'll see this in movies. It's all script writing, but this is sort of how it happens in real life. Like a little shrimpy kid will be like, all right, go ahead. Let me take my glasses off, beat my ass like usual. Like the popular kids will be like, dude, Frank, lay off the kid. Jesus fuck Christ. Like what is even the point here? If you hold your head down enough, you can escape a lot of bullying just like that. You're going to get it here from me because I'm always going to give you guys my analysis of what the fucking real deal is in the world. That is not something you tell kids like, oh, just hang your head down and get through. But in the real world, that's some shit that has some truth behind it. Period. So that's who's getting bullied, and that's who's on average doing the bullying. So just really quick to review, guys that are more popular than not, but probably not at the very top. Guys that are naturally less empathic, more aggressive, more impulsive, and guys that want to climb up the hierarchy, they have something to prove. They have some insecurities. Will typically bully anyone they can, but on average, the biggest target are people that seem to have some confidence and swag that is not commensurate with their physical backup ability. Like that's how most of the movies, like typical movie. Scott, you know what I'm talking about? Typical high school movie where like the kid that knows like super martial arts isn't big, but it's his first day at school and he's having some confidence talking to a girl. That's when the bullying scene starts, right? Like you don't get a kid that's the size of the Hulk and someone tries to bully him. You're like, I don't even know what the point of this scene is. No one would ever do this. And also this kid's just going to pull his fucking head off his body. So those are the number one targets for bullying, but very big point. Everyone else gets it too. Next. What effects does bullying have on the person getting bullied? The big caveat here is that this is very different based on who the person is, who they are at that time in their lives, and how they respond in the moment. So, some people legit met these people before. I've watched this happen. I've been their friends through this process. Some people just don't get super bothered by bullying. It's unpleasant in the moment to them, but it's no big deal. Even days later, sometimes hours, sometimes minutes. They're like, yeah, that happened. Anyway, I want to go get a diet soda. And you're like, what the fuck? I would have crawled into my room and died, but you seem to be okay with this. Easily the best way to deal with it. Not all of us are capable of this at the time, but some people just don't get don't get affected by bullying that much. On the other hand, some people find bullying to be deeply troubling and hurtful, and it can lead to short-term bouts of depression, anxiety, shame, all those nasty, nasty middle school emotions. And most people find bullying displeasing, but will recover from it with no long-term scars for the most part. Some of those people will experience an automatic and subconscious self-lowering of status. The way social dynamics works is that your primate brain makes a lot of decisions for you completely subconsciously, assessing your environment and experiences. It doesn't let you get a conscious word in edgewise. So if someone physically intimidated you, bullied you, your brain is going to be like, oh, we're going to get killed if we keep pushing this one. So we're going to assess that we're lower on the dominance hierarchy, and we're not going to behave like we're lower on the dominance hierarchy as a matter of instinctual behavior, which is fucked. Which is why that self-lowering of status is kind of automatic. For example, after someone gets repeated or even single bouts of bullying, they might find it more difficult to talk to girls after being bullied. There's something they're different now. There's something stopping them from being their fully free expressive selves, because your primate brain is calculating, quote unquote, just on evolutionary logic. It's not even aware of this, that like, yeah, don't pipe up because that guy will come back and then he'll want more. Fuck that. We are not in the kind of body that can defend ourselves. So we just zip the lip. Don't talk to the hot girls. It's going to piss him off. Don't talk to a lot of other people. Just be chill and be easy and you'll survive. Because like, bullying has killed untold numbers of people through the ages. Physical violence is at play, and intuitively your primate brain knows that. After this incident, their self-esteem might be hit really hard, taking days, weeks, months, or even years or longer to recover. The bad news is, for some small fraction, though notable number of people who have gotten bullied, sometimes self-esteem and stuff doesn't really recover until college or at all, unless the person focuses on raising their self-esteem purposefully. And like, to be honest, fellas, I'm reasonably sure my getting bullied in the 5th to 9th grade kept me nice and introverted more or less that whole time. And it took years and arguably even decades for me to unwind that, because I was naturally always super extroverted. Can you tell? And I was really introverted in middle school and high school because I was successfully bullied. And the thing is, it took me, even in my undergrad years, I wasn't really the real me yet. My master's program was better. PhD program, I really started coming up, and I wasn't really scared of people anymore. And to be completely honest, like, enough years of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu makes bullying just a non-starter even in your own head. So that really helped a ton, but it took a while. And here's the thing. I was bullied like maybe 4 or 5 times total. I was in that Diary of a CEO podcast. What's his name on that show started asking me about bullying. And I was like, the fuck, we're going down this road, huh? I straight up, they didn't tell me he was coming at me. And then I was like, he's like, oh, it must have been pretty bad or whatever. And I was like, was it though? And I guess I took it really hard, but it was just a few times. So I know people that have been bullied like dozens and dozens, if not hundreds of times through middle school and high school, sometimes by the same person, sometimes by multiple people, sometimes kind of by everyone. And if they took it remotely as hard as I did, I can only imagine how giant of a self-esteem hole that can dig. It's really, really intense. Some people, it's really, really hard. And also another factor is how those folks think about the incident minutes, hours, or days longer. This is where community can help. If you get bullied, but your friends show up and then the bully backs off, even though you felt like shit in the moment, your friends push him away and they're, fuck you, Frank. You ever come up to Jim again? Frank and Jim Scott are my only 2 names that I use now for name examples. Yeah. They only need 2. And your name's Jim in this, by the way, as the guy getting bullied. And your friends huddle around you. They're like, dude, you're totally cool. No big deal. You're crying. It's embarrassing. They hug it out with you. And they're like, come on, let's go to class. And after, they're chill. They don't treat you any differently because to them, you're always the fucking man. After a few hours, you're like, that sucked. After a few days, you're like, my friends are awesome. And it was great. And then now when you see the guy in the hallway again, you're kind of even sort of normal. And he's like, like that. And you're like, I don't know, man, like try some shit, man. I'm going to put up a fight. My friends will be here to back me up. It feels different. But if you're all by yourself, especially, you have no one to help you out. So like emotionally, you go home, no one talks to you about it. You can't talk to your parents about it. But usually that's really tough anyways. You don't want to admit stuff like that to your parents. They may not relate so well. If that kind of thing hits, and if you think about the incident in that negative light for a long time after, it can really affect the long-term outcomes much more substantially. So I guess a little side note is, if you see bullying happening, especially to a friend, but really to anyone, get in there and stop it. And also maybe spend some time with that person, not in an awkward way. Maybe they want you to fuck away from them, but kind of maybe say some kind things, maybe share the fact that, you've also been done by this person. You've also been bullied. Don't take it to heart. No big deal. That guy's a cocksucker. That kind of stuff can be really, really beautiful to hear at the time. It can really change some stuff. Me being bullied got to me in a huge way. To be totally honest with you, fellas, it would still be a trip to interact with my childhood bullies today. So I only had like 2, maybe 1, 2, something like that. Even though I'm at full steam confidence now and I got all that fucking, self-esteem and all that shit sorted, it would still be kind of a bit of like, whoa, this person's real. Like, it is a serious thing. Bullying can last 100%, and for many people does. And there are folks who take bullying really poorly that never elevate their self-esteem back up. And that can set them on the path, and this is research confirmed, of low status projection onto others. Like they just occupy that low status niche. Bullying worked. That person successfully over time, or just one instance that was really gnarly, made you believe deep, deep true in your heart of hearts that you were low on the totem pole, period. And that spreads to everything else in your life, or a lot of stuff, like in almost every situation, getting female attention, it'll spread to that. So that'll be really tough for you because you're low status. Remember from other talks we've had, if you've listened to the other talks, females can sniff out low confidence like you wouldn't fucking believe, like Tech Night from fucking The Boys on Amazon. Like, just, you can't, how the fuck? You're insanely difficult to fake. If your confidence has been deeply hurt, like, it's going to be tough with females. Even if you're trying, they can read through it. A lot of people after bullying, and this is insanely tragic to me, because academic work is so near and dear to my heart and so purposeful, that these folks, a lot of times after getting bullied, they'll decline in academic performance because they consider themselves worthless, and their mind is so fucking scrambled from this bullshit that they can't even like focus on their schoolwork, and they're so depressed and so anxious that it detracts from that. I actually remember one of the reasons that I really liked wrestling and lifting weights was, in my mind, after having put it together logically just a few years into high school when I was already doing it, I was like, this makes it really difficult to bullying me for being a nerd, because I was a nerd my whole fucking life, and I was a nerd all the way through school, and nerds get bullied. And I was like, man, I'm really happy I'm wrestling and I'm jacked, because now it's like no one ever bullied me for being a nerd. Sure shit after I started wrestling. And if someone was able to take my ability to do academic work from me by bullying, there would be very, very bad outcomes for them, no doubt. Luckily, it never came to that. Here's the fucked up thing. They can trace bullying all the way to affecting corporate dynamics and job promotions. Middle school, high school bullying can last with you for a long time. It's a trip. So, importantly, let's ask a few questions, like, what options do you have in deterring bullying? If you're listening to this and you're younger, or if you're a parent listening to this, some attempted wisdom coming your way. First thing I'll say is this one is really tough, because sometimes you're just going to be getting bullied no matter what. Like, you've just got it coming straight up. So please don't take any of this advice as how to lower your probability of being bullied, how to deter bullying, as like foolproof. Sometimes it's just going to come your way and you'll have to deal with it. Probably the biggest upside is deep confidence in your physical prowess. That's probably the biggest deterrent. Unless you aren't big or tall. If you're big, if you're tall, if you're both, and you look like you're not to be fucked with, confidence-wise, eye contact, head position, everything, most people aren't going to fuck with you because they're like, exactly is the upside of trying to fight that gigantic, super strong-looking dude that seems like he has balls. Fuck, and I can't intimidate him. That means it's a fist fight, and that means he's going to be going all out, and that means I'll probably lose, so fuck that. If you look like The Rock in middle school, you're probably not getting bullied, straight up. Now, if you aren't big or tall, then that confidence might increase your chances of getting bullied. So when, parents give shrimpy little skinny kids the talk of like, just be confident and it doesn't matter what you look like that's got facts in it for sure. But also it's got some and that's, I think, a lot of the way that kids can't really compare with parents. I think a lot of times your parents either never got bullied or they did it was a long time ago and never took it to heart. In the adult world, bullying almost never happens. It almost never happens. Like, Scott, I've been waiting for someone to bully me as an adult, begging God every night. It just hasn't happened. Adults almost never do that sort of thing. Kids, especially teens, do it all the fucking time. So when your parents say, just be confident, it doesn't matter how big you are, it's dope and all, because for them, that would totally work. Like Danny DeVito is confident as fuck, but he's like 4'9" or some shit. Doesn't matter. Nobody's going to beat up Danny DeVito. But you got the kid version of Danny DeVito. He's going to real middle school in real actual America in the real world. That's a tough sell. And so the idea of just be confident is sometimes helpful, sometimes not very helpful. Now, short of combat sports from age 6, which I'll talk about later is really the best anti-bullying device, it's tough to just poof true confidence and physical skill into existence. Like, actually, no, you can't fight. And no, you're not actually confident. Or even if you were confident, you still can't fight. You happen to weigh 120 pounds and your bully weighs 160. It's bad news, right? But there are definitely ways of deterring most bullying if you arrive to a new school or just decide to turn over a new leaf. No more bullying. However, some of these things, perhaps many of them, I can't ethically recommend. So the following is just bullshit for fun talk. I am explicitly telling you not to do this. TLDR, if you want to turn over a new leaf or you get into a new school, you're going to figure out who the highest probability bullies are, often assessed by who does the bullying just before it comes around to you. Not even high probability, you've actually seen them bully people, so you know who the bullies are. And what you're going to do is you're going to make them deeply afraid of you. How do you do that? Well, you beat the shit out of them until they give up and beg, ideally with others watching. Then they're almost never going to bully you because they lost that altercation and they don't want any more of their status leaking off of them. Or at least you can stand your ground and trade blows or trade takedowns with them so that they might not feel inferior to you, like in the earlier example, but also they know you're not a pushover. So they're just less likely to fuck with you later on. Like, hey, you want to go bully that one kid? They're like, I don't know, man. That kid hit me in the face pretty fucking hard last time. And I think I won that fight, but I just don't want to get hit in the face anymore. And I don't know. When I see him, I'm like, what's up? You're good. We're good. We're good. All good. So that's definitely a thing. Standing your ground is an effective strategy. But Jesus Christ, you don't want to do that, because then if you follow the logic, you show up to school, you find who the bullies are, you start bullying them, you are the bully. Don't do that. Bullying is bad. So in real life, you're better off responding to the bullying when it actually happens to you versus taking proactive measures, which are also considered crimes of violence. Definitely don't do that. Now, what options do you have in response to bullying? There are a few. The first option is just take it, but don't take it to heart. Like, get bullied, they say whatever, you just they punch you a few times or shake you up, you're like, ow, and as soon as they walk off, you put your glasses back on, you're like, all right, what I got, 5 minutes until second period. All right, sweet, I have time to use the bathroom. Like, you just fucking shrug it off and you walk off. I wish everyone could do that, because this is definitely a dope option. Some people can just shrug off bullying and it never gets to them. Bullies are behaving like literal monkeys. This is how primates behave. And so it's not hard to intellectually understand how absurd it is to care about. Like, you don't say like, oh, like, what's his name's just a dumb jock and you don't care about him. And you're like, well, he's right. That really is true. However, most people will find this difficult in real life because we all have the same primate brains and they're sensitized to take bullying seriously. Some kids have the gift. They really can't be bullied. They get bullied, they pick up, they just go, and nothing really ever happened in their mind. Like, yeah, shit happens. I don't know. Like, if you are on your bike and a neighbor is slowly pulling their car out and he hits you with the car and you fall off, you're hurt a little bit, you dinged your knee. The neighbor's like, oh my fucking God. Oh my God, are you okay? You're like, oh my God, I'm totally fine. He's, are you sure? I can take you to a hospital. Where do you live? No, sir, I'm totally fine. Everything works. It's no big deal. No one's coming after you. I'm just going to ride my bike away. The neighbor's freaked out. You're not really freaked out though, because you're like, that was kind of cool. I get to tell my friends I got hit by a car. the neighbor wasn't trying to intimidate you and lower your social status. The car, sure, shit wasn't, because it doesn't even have a brain. And so you take the even more physical force asserted at you when you fell off and you got dinged and everything. It was for a second kind of embarrassing because it wasn't bullying. It just doesn't have the same impetus. But if bullying there is as a social dynamic, most primate teen brains will be aware of it, and they're going to kick it into processing, and they're going to start to lower their own social status. So shrugging off bullying is dope for like high school and middle school administrators tell you, just, if you got bullied, just shrug it off. It doesn't work like that in real life often. Sometimes it does, and if it does, you're winning. Remember, if you can shrug off bullying, you really won the whole goddamn thing. Another option, take the bullying, whatever comes, and then consult the authorities. There is no shame in getting someone expelled for bullying. And you should be contacting the authorities if you get bullied. This is just a good idea in almost all cases, because what is the recourse? What is the logical line of reasoning with the alternative? Well, let's not get the authorities involved. Fine. It's just all Lord of the Flies. It's just myself. I'm in 8th grade and a bunch of 8th graders. No, we're not even going to contact the authorities. What's going to happen? You know, some people will say like tough guy type of shit, like you should handle it yourself. Don't fucking call that, contact the authorities. It's not always going to be an option. You got to learn to stand up for yourself. Dope. And there is an energy for that. But there's another energy for that. You assess yourself as physically unable to defend yourself, but you're not interested in getting bullied. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to take the bullying and you're going to remember. You're going to go, that person hurt me in a way that I'll never forgive. And then you're going to bring rat poison to the fucking school and put it in their drink 3 months later when they've forgotten it. And then they get really sick and go to the hospital and have to get their stomach pumped, and they don't walk the same for a few months. And you say like, dude, what the fuck is wrong with you? That's not cool. I got you. But punching people in the face is randomly at recess. That's cool. Bullying's cool. It's not cool. None of it's cool. Violence and intimidation are not okay. Period. It's not okay when it's just the boys doing it to each other. It's not okay when anyone does it to anyone. It's just not okay. Neither is putting rat poison into people's drinks. But once the violence starts, you get the idea. All doors are open. Like right now, as I film this, Russia is fighting Ukraine. Bullying for sure, because Russia started the war for no good reason at all, arguably for no reason at all whatsoever. And Ukraine is fighting back, and the Russians are like, oh, this is an escalation. Motherfucker, you're trying to take over our whole country. It's all escalation. So when someone's bullying you, but you're not allowed to do some fucking sneaky recourse, like, you know, finding them alone when they're walking home and having a baseball bat and doing shit to their legs, people will be like, oh, that's a whole other level. No, it's not. Same level. Violence is violence and violence is violence. Period. You start to do this escalation bullshit. Yeah, there's some game theoretics to that, but that ain't it. And so if you're a bully, and you came after someone with your fists in front of the hot girl and she laughed at them and you were the winner. Next, when you're getting kneecaps blown off by someone with a fucking baseball bat, they're like, oh yeah, I bullied that guy. Don't you dare be like, oh, but this I did not sign up for. You signed up exactly for this. As soon as you uncork the violence genie, everything else is down the fucking river intellectually wise. So tough guy arguments about like, you know, taking the shots and dealing with it. Like you just got to man up. Like some people can handle that. Some can't. That shit kind of falls apart. We are not monkeys anymore. We don't do that shit, or we sure as shit don't stand for it. The authorities are exactly the answer to most bullying. No one who's thought it through has a problem with this because refer back to rat poison. That's how it works. And remember, male competitions for toughness and resiliency are what you do in sports. It's what you do in the backyard. It's when you wrestle each other. Everyone comes in and fucking grinds. Losers lose, winners win. It's all good. You shake hands at the end. That's what the fuck toughens you up. That shit, I'm absolutely recommending. True bullying? Nah. Once you fucking flip that switch of civility, we ain't cooperating anymore. Then it's all fucking dark times ahead. Don't consider yourself safe if you've ever bullied anyone. That is real facts right there. So I'm not giving you this crazy SJW thing of always contact the authorities and everyone's a fucking pansy after a few years. I'm not into that shit. Males are males, guys are guys, girls are girls, sports, competition, grappling, wrestling, the whole goddamn thing, toughness, all that shit, pain, etc. That's good stuff. That hardens people up. Bullying probably doesn't harden people up. Some it does, some it doesn't. We can do a lot better. Now, that's for physical bullying. If it's verbal-only bullying, you have another option, which is to clap back. Verbal-only bullying is a chance for you to dunk on someone who started it. If you've got the gift of shit talking, this is a great option. Like, I don't do this kind of shit anymore, but if I could somehow get my fucking whole this bullshit into like a middle school body and go to middle school again, if someone tried to verbally bully me, oh, you guys have no idea. Oh my God. Hold on, let me pick apart your outfit to make you look fucking absurd in every possible way. And by the way, I know what you got in math class last month, and it was a fucking F. Everyone doesn't know this, but you're a dummy. You can't even barely read, motherfuckers. Talk some shit now. If you got the gift of gab and you're on it, oh my God, you're the wrongest person ever to bully. That happens sometimes. Someone tries to verbally bully you, and then you fucking swing back at them. You're basically doing a rap battle, and they're like, oh my God, I just wish I never fucking said anything. That's definitely a thing. Until and unless they make it physical, just talking that shit is fucking wonderful. However, most people getting bullied don't really feel themselves confident and comedic at the time. If I'm in the body of a fucking 13-year-old and I know I'm in full immersion VR and it's just a simulation, I don't have to take anything seriously. But if I'm really a 13-year-old having a real experience and I have the whole primate brain and everything, man, like a lot of times when you're getting successfully bullied, you don't exactly feel your voice, so to speak. And so this is unlikely a workable case in most options, or a workable option in most cases rather. Although if you can pull it off, it works super, super well. I have a story here where one time this kid that was he never ended up bullying me physically, but he was bullying me kind of psychologically. And we both walked out of this like, here we go, after school engineering focused program, extracurricular. There we go, the nerd thing. And I said something to him at the end of, like, I had like a stand up for myself moment. I said goodbye to everyone. And to him, I just said, hey, you, by the way, boom. And I threw up a middle finger and I walked off. He wasn't having that. So he followed me. And I had one of these fucking switches. I was 13, first time in my life. I think I stood up for myself, maybe. Yeah, probably. And he like came up to the locker. There was no one else around. It was just me and my locker getting my stuff to go home and him. And he's like, talk that shit now. And I was like, straight up, just throw the first punch. Fuck you. I'm in. Let's go. And he was like, shit. And he kind of wandered off. Last time he ever bullied me, that's when shit talking worked. I felt that fucking swag though for the first time ever. It was probably the first serum testosterone drop I ever got, like the week before that. Now I'm all fucking testing shit. So that can definitely be a thing. He didn't do shit and walked off, but that's complicated because that doesn't always work like that. The other thing is if you're getting verbally bullied and you don't feel like you have your voice, you can always just be like, you know what? Shut the fuck up. Throw the first punch, motherfucker. Let's get physical. Because if you tell them, let's do it, and they don't do it, they backed off. But if they do it, at least you don't have to exchange words anymore. Now you can exchange hands. And also, if you're reasonably certain they're not going to kill you, like you're in middle school, they put their hands on you, they're doing some time. They're getting expelled. They're getting some kind of fucking really bad things are going to happen. You cannot beat people up in middle school anymore. It just does not work out. And so if someone's verbally abusing you, just be like, oh yeah, you full of shit. Why don't you fucking do something about it? And if you're like, well, I don't feel like it. They lost that one. So if you feel that swag, never, ever, ever hit anyone for anything they said. That is categorically off limits. Your fists and your mouth are two completely different relational modes. But you can always say, hey, why don't you shut the fuck up and make this physical? If the other person doesn't take it, they lost. And if they take it, well, at least you're getting fucking kicked out of school, or you might be able to show them some tricks that your mind can't remember. They started it. We never, ever hit people first, and you never, ever bully people first or talk that shit for real first. All jokes are good. Shit talking for real is not cool. But if they brought you that first shit talking for real, you can ask for that heat, or you can just talk that shit back, or you can just be really silent. All options, right? If the bullying is physical, you do have the option to defend yourself. This is where training as a kid in something like jiu-jitsu, judo, wrestling, or Muay Thai, and consistently through the years can come in crazy handy. And listen, I'm going to make as much of a point about this as I can because I mean it 1,000,000,000%. If you're a kid listening to this, but especially if you're a parent listening to this, or you are an uncle or an aunt or whatever to friends and family, et cetera, that have children that are still younger, under age 10, actually, there's no age limit for this, kids of any age, yes, it is true that after about 2 years of around 3 sessions, 3 hours per week on average of learning combat training, it almost inoculates people from physical bullying. When you give children age 6 through 18, the technical tools to navigate a combat situation, it raises them so far ahead of everyone else that it's almost impossible to bully someone like that, because worst case, it comes to blows and then they take your back and put you out. You are not retaining your social status as a bully if the last thing people saw is you shit your pants as your blood came back into your head. That's just not going to work out. So if you want, as a parent, to inoculate your children from physical bullying, getting them into martial arts early, age 6 through 10, and then just letting them stick with it, have fun with it, man, it's a real 99% assurance policy. And also they teach you as a kid a lot of this in class to de-escalate situations and also how to actually proceed physically in an altercation. Now, fake bullshito martial arts don't fucking work. No offense. Most Taekwondo, Jeet Kune Do, whatever the fuck Steven Seagal shit, that Aikido, that shit, a lot of times, tons of different kinds of karate, that's all fucking dog shit. Most of the techniques don't work. You're going to have a lot of confidence and you're going to have not an ability to beat people up. And that's the fucking worst you want to be in a bullying situation. Specifically, we're talking about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, wrestling, judo, and Muay Thai. There's a couple other things, Lethwei, although if you want to teach your kids that and they start headbutting people in class, it's kind of a bad deal. Those combat confirmed martial arts, including MMA for youth, which is, we have new programs now that are coming up that do that. That's what you want, real combat power. Because like, if your kid is kind of a little bit shy and a little bit smaller, but he's been doing judo class, real competitive judo class for 4 years, and now he's 10. If a bully gets close enough for that kid to put his hands on, heads are hitting concrete. You never, ever fuck with judo people, ever, because you're standing up and all of a sudden you have no idea what happens and you're upside down and your neck doesn't feel right anymore. That's just a thing. And also they can throw you any way they want. Even they just put you on the ground and you're totally fine, but you're on the ground. And you're like, did I teleport here? Muay Thai, I mean, holy fucking shit. You just keep someone the fuck away from you and they're like, ow, I'm falling on my chest hurts. I don't want any more of this. Jiu-jitsus are really slick one. Wrestling, of course, super controlled. You pin someone and you're like, stop, I'm going to get off you. Stop. They're like, okay. They get up and try fuck with you. You double leg them again. You put them down. You're like, stop. They're like, okay, this is thoroughly embarrassing. I don't want this anymore. Jiu-jitsu is really, really good because you have your kid judo throw someone. Junior might be doing some time if he breaks a kid's neck. Muay Thai looks real bad on a security camera because you're striking people. Wrestling is dope, but super hard takedowns in wrestling can fuck people up. And also wrestling doesn't put you into a ton of ultra control positions, just dominant positions, which is great for bullying, but not so great for ending the fight. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is really the king of anti-bullying things because, first of all, it has not much of a distance offensive ability, so your kids won't use it to just go fuck people up randomly, or at least in an altercation, they have to make the first step. If they know not to do that, that's great. But Jiu-Jitsu has this really amazing thing of, it doesn't really matter how big you are, doesn't really matter how athletic you are. If someone's been doing jiu-jitsu long enough, they're going to take your back and then they're in charge. And if you decide you still want to bash their head with yours back there, they just put in the old fucking choke. And then good news, it's not even an air choke. You blood choke someone, they just pass out, quickly release, hit their legs up, shake their legs, elevate and shake, and they wake up. And I'm telling you this, when people get put out with blood chokes, they don't wake up the same. All that alpha energy is usually completely gone. You see guys get knocked out or get put out in UFC fights, no one springs back up and they're like, Kia! That doesn't happen. They're usually like, what the fuck? Like, hey, you got put out. You're like, oh, fuck. It's not a thing that can continue the altercation. And good news, jiu-jitsu usually just zero physical damage to someone. It's the gentle art. It doesn't feel so gentle when it's being applied to you, but it's hell whole lot better than punching people in the face for defense. Here's the thing. With arts like this, if you want to inoculate your kid from bullying, make sure that either at school or between the two of you, you have a non-lethal bullying response plan. Because if you are a kid who's been doing jiu-jitsu for 7 years, and then in middle school, someone fucking tries to test you, you have like an Apache helicopter gunship arsenal. Not all of that is to be used on bullying. Holy fucking shit. You can probably beat up like 3 kids in a row at that point. That's not the right approach because, again, you're getting some legal bullshit. You take a kid down really hard, he snaps his arm, and holy fucking shit. Also, tons of jiu-jitsu is like arm locks, wrist locks, fucking ankle locks, good God, twisters. Like, there's all this shit you can do in jiu-jitsu to really, really hurt people. We're not trying to hurt people. We're trying to take the wind out of the sails, put them down on the ground, and make them reconsider the fact that they're the dominant person in this position. So have a plan, which can look like takedown, back take, wait for authorities to come. When someone's on your back secured, you're not getting them off. takedown, mount, although they can still throw punches and mount, so back take's still better. Worst case scenario, if they're really psychotic, takedown, blood choke, and then shake their legs until they're coming to and either walk off, or better yet, stick around till the authorities get there in side mount, back mount, top mount, or whatever. And the authorities are going to be like, who's the bully? And there's going to be like this guy. You're like, oh, you know jiu-jitsu kid? You're like, yeah, you dumbass little kid, you bullied the wrong kid. So that is a good thing to have that backstop of physical ability, but make sure you have a non-lethal, non-deleterious, non-damaging approach with it. Something like jiu-jitsu and wrestling and stuff, it's really easy to find that. And to be honest, fighting people who haven't trained in martial arts is a bit of a joke when you actually do it, because you're like, what the fuck? This guy's doing all the wrong shit. Now, if you are a bystander to bullying, you're not the one getting bullied. Doesn't matter which age you are. Consider stepping in. It's not just boys being boys. It's not okay. Kids just wrestling and having horsing around fun, amazing, keep going. But true bullying, that dominance, that shit right there, violence and intimidation are not cool straight up. And if you're a bystander that interferes with bullying, you get bonus points of social status in most cases for stepping in. Like you're kind of the fucking hero, as well you should be. So I'll tell you this, unless someone has a fucking gun or several guns, if I see someone bullying someone around me in my current age, it's Jiu-Jitsu Expo time. 100%. Not cool. It shouldn't happen. Here's the thing. If enough people are not cool with witnessing bullying, you just don't get a lot of bullying, because everyone kind of gets the idea like, man, last time I tried to bully someone, I had 8 kids pick me up and take me away and give me a talk I don't ever want to hear again. So this is not the school for that. Absolutely stand up for other people. It's a really good thing any way you slice it. Lastly, one hell of a talk here. What do you do if you've been bullied a long time and you're still upset by it? It's still, you feel that gunk in your fucking soul still. What you need is just one thing, to become empowered. That is the only medicine that will cure you, and it will cure you. Someone took your confidence from you sometime long ago or over many times, and you're going to get it back. For that, I have a whole video about how to raise your self-esteem. It's video number 31, how to defeat your insecurity. Give that a look. It's got all the answers, but TLDR, it's combat training for a long time. Physical combat, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, wrestling, judo, Muay Thai, things like that, maybe even a combination, until bullying you requires a technical exchange of striking and grappling, and almost no one with formal combat training that can stand up to you in that sphere is ever going to bully you. Pro fighters, amateur fighters, people that train martial arts, they almost never bully people because they don't have anything else left to prove. That's some shit you left on the mats. And I know that Never Back Down Again 3, The Streets 2, said otherwise, because the only bullies are pro MMA fighters. It really almost never happens like that. So when you become competent in combat sport, you look at all other humans around you differently, because you look at them as people you don't want to fight because you've got all your demons out on the fucking mats anyway. And if they want to bring you some fucking heat or the wrong energy, you can't wait to get fucking started teeing off on them, because it's like the world's most disproportionate fist fight. So if anyone ever tries to bully you again after you've established your own security for yourself, you're just not going to be able to take them seriously for the most part, and it won't affect you emotionally like it used to, because unless they try to throw hands. And if they're trying to throw hands and get physical, then it's fucking party time. Holy shit. Can you imagine if you're like 5'10", 180 pounds, relatively lean, 27 years old, and you've done 7 years of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and now you're like a brown belt that goes to Worlds. You don't win Worlds. You get knocked out of the first bracket, but you give the guy that wins Worlds like a really tough 3 minutes. And some fucking trucker, sorry, truckers, no offense to pick on you, just random demographic, some fucking trucker dude at a gas station is like, you just carelessly got in line, and he's like, hey man, that's my place in line. You're like, oh, sorry, sir. He's like, I don't think you're fucking understanding me. And he fucking fronts at you, or he's like bullying someone else, and you get in the mix. And he's like, 230, but he's 5'7". He has a gut. He smokes cigarettes. You can smell it on him. Like, unless he wrestled and was some kind of wrestling superstar, it might give you a look. Even though wrestlers, if you know pure jiu-jitsu and they just know wrestling, pretty easy to beat because they get fucking guillotined like you wouldn't believe. That you might, like, if a trucker is talking shit to you in that demographic, you just might be like, sir, I am so sorry for everything. I'm just going to get out of your way. You're going to have a hard time hiding your smile, because you'd be like, how the fuck am I going to take you seriously? But if it comes to like where they're getting in your face and trying to swing on you, oh my God. One last thing I'll leave on this note with. If you are a person who's never trained in combat training, or if you're a person that has, but you've just been in fights with other combat trained people in your jiu-jitsu gym or your Muay Thai studio, please understand this. Untrained people have gas tanks that last about 15 to 30 seconds in a real fight, maybe. Someone who tries to fight you just with their fucking hands in the fucking Kroger parking lot, all you do is you move around them a bit, shuck their head, get some grips, get their back, push them away, shuck their head. After about 15 seconds, they're going to be going, and the fight is over. Because you could just back up and be like, take it easy. And they're like, they don't even come up to you anymore, like, motherfucker. And that's it. The fight is fucking gone. And if you want to take them down and put them to the ground and wait for the police to come, just don't put a lot of pressure on them because they could legit fucking croak under that shit. Most people who start fights and have no experience against combat trained opponents, their gas tanks, their skill set, their frailty is just off the charts absurd. So if you happen to get in a confrontation, if this video emboldens you to stand up for yourself, take it slow, take it easy. Remember that holds and grabs and securing positions way, way better than beating people up. You're not going to go to jail for that shit. Take it easy on the people out there because most regular people that start fights, man, they just suck at them. In any case, bullying sucks. Hopefully I've helped a little bit. See you guys in the comments, and I'll see you next week.